As you may know, the leaderboard phase of this event is been progressing pretty rapidly. People have been working really hard to get their times as low as possible, and I've been actually really surprised on just how far most people have been able to push it. The fact that top 50 right now is 16 and a half minutes or lower is really impressive to me. I was honestly expecting there to not be as many teams as there are who have been chasing after these top positions and shaving down their time even further, especially with how difficult this raid actually was. And I guess still is, because there's still some time left on the leaderboard phase for about another 14 hours and 32 minutes at the time of recording. However, this isn't really a video on the achievements of this raid. Of course, we will be talking about the people who have some stellar achievements. This is a video addressing the drama that has been surfacing because of certain things to do with this particular leaderboard. Well, to start out, there is one thing that I would like to clear up initially, and this is like the first thing that has been cropping up. As you can see, the spot between the number 1 spot and the number 2 spot is vast. Basically, every single other player right now, between places, I don't know, 10 through 50 are seconds apart from each other. You see some bigger jumps throughout the top 10, and then between top 1 and top 2, it is almost an entire minute of difference. Essentially just 40 seconds of difference between the top 1 position and the top 2. And we can see right here, they have a very, very efficient clear time. 4 minutes on break-in, 5.5 minutes on the Menace above, and 3 minutes and 45 seconds on the Sakis' Tabernacle. Now the Sakis, they've probably got it as locked down as they could possibly be. I mean, me and my team, we got through it basically as fast as we really could, and we're sitting at like a 3:47, not bragging, but we are much slower on the previous 2 encounters, especially the Menace above, which we unfortunately did not get as much time to accomplish a faster time on compared to the other 2. But there have been some accusations throwing around that the people who are getting these really, really fast 13-minute clear times are using some amounts of exploits. And I'm just going to say straight up, they are not. I've already heard about some people who did use some exploits in the raid, and I believe their leaderboard positions have already been removed since. So anybody who is sitting on the leaderboard currently is almost definitely not using some kind of exploit or cheat. Or I am familiar with 2 of the top players right now, Destiny and XZombiesX. And I actually talked with Zombie this morning to clear up certain things. So, thing number 1, obviously, he did not use any exploits whatsoever. There are just simply so many optimizations you can do in the first and second encounter that they are able to shave off insane amounts of time. Even something as simple as the button pressing phase for the code sequence in the second encounter, there are so many like small improvements that you can do. Like essentially you can hit the first button and then the next guy in the sequence can hit their button immediately after, so you can get like all of the buttons done essentially as fast as one single button press. And if you're waiting for each button to be fully pressed in before you move on to the next one, you're essentially adding like another 15 to 40 seconds of time on your clears right there in just that one singular mechanic. That's not even talking about improvements that you could do in the carrying phase, improvements that you could do in the ad clearing phase, in making sure that you are able to actually do the mechanics faster. And there's also stuff to do in the first encounter. Pretty much as soon as you defeat that key bearer, you are able to progress through the encounter like from then on out. Speed matters so much more in those first 2 encounters compared to Isakis. Isakis, ironically enough, has the lowest amount of speed optimizations that you could actually make. Essentially, if you just defeat the Scorch Vandals as fast as you possibly can, and if you guess on the mechanics in one phase, like that's basically it. That's all the improvements that you can make on the final encounter. First encounter, second encounter, significantly more, and it's just simply a matter that they have had more time and that they are also just better players. And if we take a look at basically every single other leaderboard in this game, who are the people who are at the tops of these leaderboards? Zombie X, The Expanse. Look at him right there. He is more than a whole minute faster than second place. If we go to Gauntlet Onslaught, like the normal difficulty, There we go. Zombie X, a 349 on the Menace Above. Sakis' Tabernacle. Now, these guys have a much better time because I know at the very least ES9 is very, very in tune with his damage rotations. So that's probably why he's got much better leaderboard positions here. But when it comes to like the doing stuff fast and doing the mechanics and clearing, Zombie X is almost definitely one of the best, if not the best player currently in Destiny Rising. And that's why he's got the best time, or his team has the best time by a large margin, straight up. Now, that's not the only drama. If that was the only drama, this would be a much, much shorter video. The other drama and accusations that have been throwing around has to do with the fact that multiple teams, including Zombie X and his team, have multiple placements on this leaderboard within the top 100. And it's not like a ton. Okay, it's not, there's only a handful between each teams. I believe one of my buddies actually aggregated them, and there's about, let's see, 4, 8, 7, and 9. So there's about 9 instances total of there being like people who have multiple placements on the leaderboard, which definitely is a lot because, I mean, obviously if we discount their first times, that would be, or across those 4 teams, that is still 5 whole placements on the leaderboard that have been taken up by essentially repeat teams. And there is something that I will have to clear up initially, because I did accidentally help propagate this because of my own misunderstandings, but there were some people who were under the impression that the leaderboards would disqualify people for having repeat placement. And if we take a look at the original blog post that we saw that from right here in their official website, if we go to search up disqualify, this was only for the top 5 world's first positions. Okay, so when it comes to the top 100 per server fastest clear times, those do not have any sort of disqualification factors other than just not cheating. So this is probably going to, I don't know. I know some people are going to disagree with it, but this is very much a situation of don't hate the player, hate the game. Because it is not their fault that there were not any provisions put in place for situations like this happening. And it's definitely going to suck for, like, I don't know, number 102, 103, 104, 105, I don't know, probably just 101 through 110 even, that essentially feel like their positions were stolen by a team that had more time and better players who took multiple other people through the raid. Even just one extra person was like swapped out. And it definitely is a bad situation, okay? My sympathy to the people who are struggling with that right now. But again, like, it's not their fault that there were no provisions put in place for this situation. And it's not even the case to where you could like really like say they're like they should be disqualified or anything, because what happens when there is necessarily a team of like 3 players and another 3 players and they lose half their team because, you know, maybe they cleared day 1 and their entire team, like those other 3 players were just busy through a weekend. I mean, that almost happened to my team. Well, I mean, it technically did happen to my team because, I mean, we had to get together at like some crazy extreme time, like 3 a.m. in the morning to 9 a.m. in the morning in order to get some more clears because of just some IRL stuff that is getting in the way. But those other people, like the 3 people who still can play, then went to fill in some more slots because they still want to participate in the event. And maybe they get a better time, or maybe they even get a worse time, but they're still in the top 100. And what happens to them? Like, do they get disqualified, or does like the original 3 people? I don't think it would be really fair to anybody in that position to like remove their participation in the leaderboard because, well, there were no provisions against it. So it's essentially down to, or the responsibility is on the event coordinators, the developers of the game, for this whole situation right now. And my personal take on it, my opinion on what should happen, is for every team that there are 3 or more players that have already cleared on a higher position, they should give out another emblem to essentially the next spot down. So essentially, if there are necessarily like 10 repeat teams, then like placements 101 through 110 should still get the emblem. That is how I feel about it. I feel like that would be the best way to resolve this situation without essentially like taking anybody's participation from it. Because, I mean, could you imagine being that team? Like, you lose half of your team and you go through more clears, and maybe like you've got multiple places of the leaderboard, but then like half of your team, like your previous team, gets disqualified, or you get disqualified, and your other teammates don't, like your Phils and like the people who left, just because of some restriction like that wasn't originally like detailed. They should have separated it by day cleared. There should have been some extra provisions put in place for situations like this. I mean, another way is just to give it to the top 600 players instead of the top 100 teams. How do you really gauge that though? Like, if there's like repeat teams, what if it's not an even number? Like, what if there are, I don't know, like repeats and it goes to like, I don't know, like 55, and then like one person out of like the bottom team, or like 2 people out of the bottom team, just get excluded like that, even though they had the exact same clear times as the people above them. Yeah, like, trust me, if you want to guarantee a leaderboard position right now, like, you definitely want to push for like 16 or lower, because like there's 14 hours left and people are going to be wanting to push those times. But I believe that covers about everything to do with this particular drama. I don't really know anything else. Like, again, it is not the fault of the players right now. It is not the fault of X-Zombie. It's not the fault of anybody who has multiple positions on the leaderboard. I mean, obviously, even if there are people who are maliciously looking to like take up more spots on the leaderboard to deny other players, even then, it is down to the event coordinators to make sure that any kind of foul play or even accidental situations like this are not happening. And also, I just want to say, Zombie X is not doing any paid carries. He has turned down multiple paid carries, and if there are any people who are thinking that there's boosting going on, he is not one, and especially his team, like he and his team, are not participating in those practices whatsoever. So I believe that covers just about everything. If you are enjoying my coverage of Destiny Rising and would like to see more, be sure to subscribe to my channel, as that is the best way to keep up to date on all things to do with Destiny Rising. I would like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on the leaderboard. If you think that there would be a better way to resolve this situation in a way that is most amicable and, you know, essentially makes it feel like so that players don't feel like they're getting cheated or like walled out by certain teams, like just taking up multiple spots, I would like to hear how you guys would resolve the situation in the comments below. And I'd also like to hear about your personal experiences with the Eclipse difficulty. And of course, thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I will see you all next time.